Hey guys, Carter here. As promised, here is my double action OTF head-to-head competition face-off between the Benchmade Infidel and the Microtech Combat Troodon. Both excellent double action OTFs in their own right, but because they are similar in size and similar in price point, I think it would be a good idea to compare the two. Maybe you are deciding which one you want to purchase. Of course, everything I say in this video isn't going to be conclusive in terms of which one's better, because, frankly, I'd like to know that myself. But I will compare some of the features and things like that. So, well, first off, let's talk price. Double action OTFs, they're expensive. They are. They cost a lot of money. Not everybody can afford them, and not everybody wants to afford them. So, obviously I'm only speaking to people that are actually in the market for a double action OTF. Next point, the MSRP, or rather the suggested retail, or kind of the full retail price, is about the same for these. Around $400, maybe just under, maybe a little bit more if you're getting the black blade and so on. However, a lot of dealers, a lot of Benchmade dealers, they will go below retail with various ways. Sometimes they offer a coupon code. Sometimes they say, you got to add to cart in order to see full discounts. But a lot of Benchmade retailers will offer this below retail. So this one, technically, you're going to be able to get cheaper, brand new. Probably about $50 cheaper. So around maybe around 300, you can pick these up. So this one technically is cheaper if you look at it that way. Now, blade steel, not really going to talk about that. This is D2. This is typically S35VN in the later models. You can look up videos comparing those two blade steels. But if you look at the blade length, you're looking about the exact same, 4 inches. The Combat Troodon is going to be a wider blade profile, as you can see. Blade stock is about the exact same. The handle width is similar. This one is more contoured, whereas the Combat Troodon is a little straighter. The biggest difference between the two, the big elephant in the room, is the activation button. The Infidel is here on the flats. The Troodon is here on the spine. Now, here's how I'm going to break it down. This one's easier to activate in terms of where the activator is located. You can get a better grip on the knife. It feels more natural activating it right here, as opposed to on the spine. It's a little bit harder to kind of grip it. It's not a big deal, but it is a little harder to grip it. The button on the Combat Troodon, the Microtech, actually kind of acts as jimping, so it does give you something to grip onto when you're holding the knife, whereas the Infidel has a built-in groove right here. No jimping, but it does have a groove that you can kind of use to grip the knife. Now, as far as which one is easier to open, the Infidel is. And that is just because the spring strength is a little weaker on the Infidel, which also means it's not going to fire quite as hard. And you can feel that. This one, it's a little more subtle when you fire the Infidel. And it kind of feels cooler because it's a little smoother, I kind of want to say, even though that's not really the case. It's not that it's smoother, but just the way it fires. Whereas the Combat Troodon, a little harder to press the button, but it comes out with more force, as you can see. Hopefully you can see. And even the sound, it's definitely more subdued on the Benchmade than the Infidel right here. Handle material, both are anodized aluminum. This is anodized aluminum. This features 6 torque screws on it, whereas this features 6 proprietary Microtech screws on it. Both have a deep carry pocket clip. Microtech is wider than the Benchmade, as you can see right here. But in terms of how they function, they're both very similar. The Microtech has a glass breaker with I believe it's a carbide ball bearing at the end here. press fit into the end of the glass breaker. The Infidel features no such device like that. Now, as far as your ability to take it apart, it would be easier to do with the Infidel because it has standard torque screws than the proprietary ones. However, I don't know. I've taken apart Microtech, and well, Microtech clones I've taken apart. I've never taken apart a real Microtech because I don't have the bits to do it. And it's not that big a deal. Or at least, you know, you can take this cover piece off, take a look inside pretty easily, and then you can actually take them apart fairly easily as well. The Benchmade, on the other hand, I have never taken it apart or taken apart any copies. I will say that these both operate completely differently inside. I have seen inside of a Benchmade, and it's a completely different system. I'm very familiar with how Microtechs work with their carriage system, and I really have no idea how the Infidel works. It's got a lot of different pieces that I have no idea what they do. They've got leaf springs in there. So these are completely different internally in the way they work. Well, I won't say completely different. Same principle, but executed completely differently. And that comes to the point of which one is more reliable, or which one, you know, is going to fire on you more consistently. And, you know, sadly, guys, I can't answer that. I do not know. I've seen tests with both. At least tests with force being placed, pushing inside the handle on the blade. They both held up, I would say, about equally well based off what I've seen. So, I don't know. I've seen a few tests with mud and things like that on both of these. I don't know. I would say they're probably about on par. This one has stronger springs in it, so maybe this one, the Microtech, may be a little more reliable. But, you know, I really can't say, guys. It would take a lot of testing in order to figure that out. You would need multiple Benchmades, and then you'd have to decide which Microtech to pit it up against, and you'd have to do multiple tests multiple times in order to determine if either one of these is any better than the other. I will say, though, they are both fun. And one last thing, you can see, I mentioned this earlier, the satin finish on the Benchmade. You can see how it's kind of a matte satin. See how it's just kind of not very shiny? And the satin finish on the Microtech is kind of what you typically see in a satin finish. You can see the grind lines, and it's quite blingy right there compared to the Benchmade. Oh, another point I want to bring out is you are going to get kind of a cooler looking knife with a Microtech. You can see some of the details like this milling in here, and then they've got these holes and just crisper grind lines you can see on these plunge lines down here, and just where the grind breaks away from the flat. Just really crisp, a lot more beautiful. You've got more intricate work done on the handle, the proprietary screws, all of that stuff. The Benchmade, it's a little more utilitarian. It's less pretty, I guess you would say. It's still nice. Fit and finish is great, but it just has a few less of those details in it. One thing I do like about the Benchmade is that the button is doesn't rattle. I mean, you can get a little bit of side-to-side movement, but when you're playing with it, you don't really get much. The Microtechs, they just wobble around and click around, and it's, you know, not a functional issue, but it does. It is kind of nice, just having that solid feeling that you get on the Benchmade. They definitely have a different feel too. This one's a little more, I don't know, it's hard to explain, which is why I didn't say it before, but this one, I mean, it's stiffer, but the action, it just feels different. This one almost feels kind of like a rubber band, almost. I don't know. It's different. Two totally different feeling knives, but both great knives. I'd recommend them both if you can pick them up, especially used. People will sell these for really good prices on the used market just due to what they are. Alright guys, take it easy, and I will catch you on the next video.